On May 29, 1453, the Roman Empire dies. Not the Rome of togas and gladiators. That empire falls 1,000 years earlier. This is the eastern half, the one that survives plague, crusade, and siege behind the greatest walls ever built. Constantinople holds for 1,123 years. On this morning, those walls finally break. A last emperor draws his sword and vanishes into the chaos of a dying city. Sultan Mehmed II is 21 years old. His own advisors doubt him. His father's court whispers that the boy lacks the strength to rule. Mehmed hears every word and forgets none of them. Since childhood, one obsession consumes his mind: the city across the water, the golden prize that no Muslim army has ever taken. Constantinople. He builds his entire reign around one question: how do you break walls that have stood for 1,000 years? Behind those walls, Emperor Constantine XI commands a dying empire. Centuries of war, plague, and territorial loss reduce Byzantium to little more than the capital itself. The treasury sits empty. The population shrinks from 500,000 to fewer than 50,000. Former allies in Venice and Genoa send promises, but few soldiers. Constantine knows what approaches. He also knows that surrender means the end of everything Rome has ever been. Two men face each other across a narrow strait of water. One commands 80,000 soldiers and the largest siege cannon ever built. The other defends a city with barely 7,000 fighting men and walls that crumble faster than masons can repair them. Between these two rulers, 1,500 years of Roman history hangs in the balance. What unfolds over the next 53 days reshapes the boundary between East and West for the next 5 centuries. Constantinople sits on a triangular peninsula with water on 3 sides. Along the north, a Golden Horn inlet offers natural protection. A massive chain stretches across its mouth to block enemy ships. On the landward western side, Theodosian Walls rise in 3 layers of stone and brick, fronted by a deep moat. For over 1,000 years, every army that approaches these defenses turns back defeated. Arabs try twice and fail. Bulgars break against them. Even crusaders only breach the sea walls. Mehmed brings something no previous attacker possesses. A Hungarian engineer named Orban constructs a bronze cannon over 8 meters long. It fires stone balls weighing over 500 kilograms. 60 oxen drag it across the countryside towards Constantinople. When it fires for the first time, the blast shakes buildings a kilometer away. Walls that withstand 1,000 years of assault now face a weapon that turns stone to dust. The age of medieval fortification ends in a cloud of smoke and rubble. On April 6, 1453, Ottoman guns open fire. Stone balls crash into the Theodosian Walls with a sound that echoes across the Bosphorus. Dust rises in columns above the impact points. Inside the city, women and children press against church doors as the ground trembles beneath their feet. The great cannon only fires 7 times a day because the barrel needs hours to cool. But each shot tears deeper into walls that took decades to build. Night offers no safety. While Ottoman guns rest, crews of Genoese and Greek defenders scrambled to fill the gaps with barrels of earth and wooden palisades.
A Genoese commander named Giovanni Giustiniani leads the repair efforts by torchlight, brick dust coating his armor. His men patch breaches that reopen the next morning under cannon fire. Day after day, the walls crumble and rebuild in a desperate cycle that exhausts every defender inside the city. On April 22, Mehmed executes one of the most audacious moves in military history. Unable to break the chain across the Golden Horn, he orders 70 ships dragged overland on greased wooden rails. Overnight, an entire fleet crosses a ridge and slides into the harbor behind the chain. Dawn reveals Ottoman ships floating where no enemy vessel has sailed in centuries. Defenders on the sea walls stare in disbelief. The chain that protects Constantinople for 1,000 years becomes meaningless in a single night. Inside the city, hunger spreads. Grain stores run dangerously low. Soldiers who fight all day eat the same thin soup as the old and the sick. Rumors sweep the streets that Western reinforcements sail toward the city. A Venetian fleet is coming, help is close, but the horizon stays empty. Day after day, the people of Constantinople scan the sea and see nothing but Ottoman sails. Hope dies slowly, one empty sunrise at a time. On the walls, Constantine fights alongside his men. He inspects every breach, rallies every exhausted garrison, and refuses every offer of escape. An emperor could flee by ship and preserve his title in exile. Constantine chooses to stay. He tells his officers that the city and its emperor will fall together. In 1,500 years of Roman history, no emperor has ever made this choice. Some call it madness. Others call it the most Roman decision anyone has made in centuries. Mehmed offers terms on May 26th. Surrender the city and its people live. Constantine refuses. On the night of May 28th, the entire city gathers in the Hagia Sophia for a final service. Orthodox and Catholic Christians pray side by side for the first time in centuries. Candles flicker across gold mosaics that shimmer in the darkness. Outside, 80,000 soldiers prepare for the final assault. Everyone inside the cathedral knows what morning brings. At 1:30 on May 29th, drums thunder across the Ottoman camp. Wave after wave of irregular troops charge the weakened walls. Constantine's men cut them down in the breaches, fighting knee-deep in bodies. Mehmed sends fresh units every hour, grinding the defenders down through sheer numbers. Arrows darken the pre-dawn sky. The defenders hold. Then a second wave strikes, and a third. The walls become a killing ground where exhaustion matters more than skill. Just before dawn, a small group of Ottomans discovers an unlocked postern gate called the Kirkaporta. 50 soldiers slip through and raise the Ottoman flag on an inner wall. Nearby defenders see the banner, and panic spreads along the line. At almost the same moment, a crossbow bolt strikes Giustiniani in the chest. His Genoese troops carry him toward the harbor. When the defenders see their best commander leaving, the line cracks.
Ottoman janissaries pour through the widening gaps. Steel flashes in torchlight. Screams fill the narrow streets behind the walls. Constantine XI strips off his imperial regalia so no one can identify his body and charges into the Ottoman ranks with sword drawn. No one sees him fall. His body is never found with certainty. The last Roman emperor disappears into the smoke and blood of a dying empire. 15 centuries of Rome end in an anonymous death. Mehmed enters the city before noon. He rides straight to the Hagia Sophia, dismounts, and scatters a handful of earth over his turban as a gesture of humility before God. Inside, he gazes upward at the golden mosaics and orders the building converted into a mosque. The greatest church in Christendom becomes the greatest mosque in Islam.
Outside its doors, soldiers sweep through the city, claiming plunder granted by the laws of conquest. 3 days of looting follow the custom of the age. Mehmed stops it early on the second day. Smashed icons fill the gutters. Blood stains marble floors. Families huddle in church courtyards, awaiting their fate. Mehmed sees all of it and orders protection for the remaining Greek population. A sultan who destroys Byzantium also preserves what he can from the wreckage. Cruelty and mercy share the same afternoon. Greek scholars flee westward, carrying manuscripts that Western Europe has never seen. Texts by Plato, Aristotle, and ancient mathematicians arrive in Italian cities where humanist scholars devour every page. Libraries in Florence, Rome, and Venice fill with classical knowledge preserved for centuries behind the walls of Constantinople. Historians mark this migration as one spark that ignites the Renaissance. A city falls, and the knowledge it guards scatters like seeds across a continent. Mehmed renames the city Istanbul and makes it the capital of an empire that stretches across 3 continents for the next 4 centuries. New mosques rise beside old churches. Ottoman architects study Byzantine engineering and build on it. Trade routes shift. The Mediterranean's balance of power tilts permanently east. European nations, cut off from overland routes to Asia, begin searching for new paths by sea. Columbus sails west within 40 years of the fall. For the Orthodox Christian world, May 29th becomes a day of mourning that echoes across centuries. Greek folklore holds that the last liturgy in the Hagia Sophia never truly ended. A priest, carrying the holy chalice, walks into a wall as the Ottomans enter. Legend says he waits there still, frozen between one breath and the next. When Constantinople returns to Christian hands, the priest will emerge and finish the service he began 600 years ago. Modern Istanbul still carries the scars and the beauty of that day. The Theodosian Walls stand in fragments along the western edge of the city. Visitors walk through the same gates where Janissaries poured in at dawn. The Hagia Sophia stands as a museum, neither church nor mosque, holding the memory of both faiths beneath its ancient dome. Bullet marks from 1453 still dot the stone surfaces of surrounding buildings.
Empires rise because strong men build them. Empires fall because walls are only stone. Constantine XI chooses death over surrender, knowing his name will echo longer than any treaty of survival. Mehmed proves that no fortress lasts forever against ambition armed with new technology. Between these 2 men, one morning in May ends the medieval world and opens the door to everything that follows. The last Roman emperor has no grave. His empire has no heir. 53 days of siege, 1,123 years of Roman continuity, 1 unlocked gate, 1 crossbow bolt, 1 emperor who refuses to run. On the morning of May 29th, 1453, the longest surviving empire in human history draws its final breath behind crumbling walls. Smoke rises over the Golden Horn. Bells fall silent in the Hagia Sophia. Rome, in all its forms, is finally gone. But cities outlive empires. Istanbul thrives today as a city of 16 million people straddling 2 continents. The same waters that carried Ottoman warships now carry ferries and cargo ships. Minarets in church spires share the same skyline. Every stone in the city holds a memory of the day the medieval world ended. History does not forget what happens when walls that stand for 1,000 years finally break. Some endings change everything that comes after.